Welcome to People I Think Are Cool. I'm your host, Liz Reed, one part of the art duo Cuddles and Rage, and this is my podcast where I interview cool, interesting, creative people. Today on the show, we have Michelle Oullette. She is somebody who I met just out of, a connection, a job that I'm doing for a library in Michigan. It was really cool. She reached out to me. Hey, I like your books. I like your dioramas. Like, let's team up. I've been following your work. And when I talked to her and found out that she was an artist as well, and I went and looked at her portfolio, I was like, oh my gosh, Michelle is somebody I need to have on the show. She has done amazing, crazy work. She owns a production company with her husband called Haus, and they have worked with mega clients, all the way from like Subway. I guess you should talk about KFC a lot, Discord, Google. I'm just naming like a few of them out of like tons of people that she's worked with. She's been in like graphic design and in a creative field since 2005. So we kind of cover that journey all the way up to present day. We talk about starting your own production company and building your client list. And also, I think something that a lot of newer creatives, and even I struggle with honestly today, is the importance of taking those jobs that are going to pay the bills and also continuing your creative career, and that's going to feed your soul. It's a really fine balance. You really can't have one without the other. You have to be in a really special position to be able to do that. So to hear her talk honestly about the importance of that and like her business savvy side of production, which is something that I always admire people, and I really just wish I could just reach into the screen and suck out of them because I need it. That was really inspiring. So, without further ado, please enjoy this interview with the fun, creative, energetic. She's somebody that I wish like lived really close so we could just, drink wine, eat cheese, and talk about art. Enjoy this great chat with Michelle. Cool.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to start off with your background because I just think you have a really interesting career. And I think starting from the very beginning might kind of like set the groundwork for where you are now. So you don't have to start when you were born or anything.
Okay. Yeah.
More your
So
schooling.
yeah, I went to the graphic design. No, so I'm from Windsor, Ontario, which is a medium-sized town just right near Detroit. And I went to community college for graphic design. And then I did a postgraduate year at Sheridan, which is near Toronto. And I did 3D there. And I didn't really love it because it was in 2005 when 3D was like really difficult. Like everything was so difficult, and it took a team of 500 people. So I moved back. So it's about a 4-hour drive. Moved back, and then I got a temp gig in Detroit, which was just going to be like a couple months. And then I was planning to go back to Toronto, and I met my husband. And so I haven't left. And so now I'm still in Detroit. And I worked at a bunch of graphic design places. The last job that I had was at a 3D place. And it was just, we did like car rotations, but like I was the only lady. It was not a good environment. They liked, I mean, there were a lot of like hobbies. People like to watch porn at work. They like
What?
to
Like actual porn? Like there are like lots of hobbies. Like
yeah,
porn.
it's just like it's not like there was the last, like I was sitting in this group of people, and it's just all dudes. So you have like too many guys and nobody's really in charge. And this like older guy, I don't think he liked that I was 27 and a lady. I think that was the problem. And he was like probably like 55, or I don't know. And he was just kind of like, you could just tell he had the seething anger underneath. He used to call me kiddo. It was nice.
Mm.
And I can't work in a dark room on a computer. It just gives me like a migraine. Like if the room is pitch
Yeah.
black, I can't. And so I would come in earlier than everybody, and I just kind of open the blinds a little bit. And he got so mad, and he used to take the HR lady out to lunch. And so eventually they had me moved into another area all by myself in the corner, the only woman in the office. So
Wow.
yeah, I left there. But most people were fired. The HR lady, she was embezzling, so it wasn't a
What
great
is,
plan.
what is this wild work
Yeah,
environment?
yeah, it was not the best. Every job that I'd have, I was because I was sort of like interested in animation, I'd be doing like kind of illustration, but After Effects. I was a trained like graphic designer, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be illustrating. And um and there wasn't really a job for illustrate. I mean, I'm sure there were some, but there certainly weren't in Detroit. So I was trying to get kind of like adjacent, like, and I just try to fit in illustration. And everybody was like, "We don't want that. Why are you
Mm,
doing that?"
yeah.
But so I just like kept trying to put that in my work. And finally, that last job where I was kind of moved into the corner, I decided like I could kind of see a future, and like it was going to be a producer, because like, and that's not what I wanted to do. And so I thought, I'm going to quit. So I took a insane pay cut to like nothing. And I did like a mentorship, and my husband at the time, he's an animator. And so he got like a job that was big enough for two of us. And so we decided, we'll start like a company and we'll just do these little explainer animations. And so we started our company, which is called Haus. And that was about a decade ago. It was a decade ago. Wow.
Okay,
Time
wait.
flies.
So I'm confused because I thought online you started the company with your brother, but you started with your husband?
My husband. Yeah. I don't have a brother.
Okay.
My
Okay, so where was that? I was like, obviously you didn't marry your brother.
uh I hope not, but it's
You worked at a place where porn was a hobby, so
yeah. Why not? Why not? There's no judgment here. This is
you're like,
no
I'm
judgment circle.
living the wild life. So I don't know where I saw that. Like maybe, anyways, maybe there was more to it. Yeah, if you don't have a brother, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so you started with your husband. Oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome. Okay, so you're a husband and wife team too.
Yep, yep.
Ooh, I'll have to ask you the juicy questions behind that.
Oh,
But let's just pause for a second and go there. Is it easy for you to work with your husband? I get asked that all the time.
I mean, if it didn't work, I don't think we would do it.
Yeah.
Like we balance, so we have two kids, and so it's almost like this, like a circle, like you're just sort of covering for like everybody. It works what we work really well together. Um, but I mean, if you work with anybody for a decade or more, like
Yeah.
there are just going to be things that are difficult, but I don't know, mostly like I really love working with him. So he's like super talented, and he can do like a lot of different things. He's like got a background in like he's a musician. So there's just like it kind of like it allows us to sort of have a good range of things.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm looking in a mirror because like Jimmy writes the music for our stuff
Oh,
too.
that's so cool.
Yeah. Wow. So, but you guys do like a lot of different mediums too, which is like a huge reason why I was like, oh my gosh, we have to talk. Like how have you been able to manage that and play with that? Because it's not just like traditional animation always.
Yeah, so well, it's kind of um like the best thing for the job is. We've sort of so we've done a we kind of started with just the two of us, and so it was like my illustration and his animation, and then we found like a couple of people that we've been working with for the past like 6 or 7 years, and they're cell animators, and so they're really like the four of us work really well together. So we have like our House work has a lot of cell, like traditional kind of 2D. But Chad can kind of do the After Effects. It just sort of depends on what's the best for the job, and then also what the budget is. And then in
Mhm.
the last year, I started stepping out of House and just doing like a little bit of freelance to relieve, because when we do a job, it's just on us. So it's us, and then we have our kids. And so if there's like somebody sick for a week, you're just kind of like it becomes
Yeah.
really difficult. Um, and so that's been really great actually, because it's allowed us to take jobs that we like want to be doing, as opposed to like just things that we can do that make money, but maybe not like something that we would like to be doing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's part of people's struggle is realizing that you have to take those jobs, you have to make the paycheck and find a way to insert yourself, or just realize that you're taking the paycheck if the client is, really determined to have it their way.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't really mind doing that for other people's businesses, but like when it's for us, like I feel like if we're gonna drive a project, it takes so much. Like you really have to look at the background. You have to feel what the client feels. Like at least I do to like create for like a thing. And so if somebody else is like, if it's their project and I'm just illustrating on it or doing style frames or whatever, it's so much like I don't really have to care in the same way. Like I did a project with a studio and it was for KFC, and like I don't care about KFC. I don't have to care about them. And like and it's sort of done. It's like I got some painting out and that was good. And I don't have to, I can feel I worked with nice people. So
Yeah. So are you the art director of the company, or I mean, I'm sure you have to wear multiple hats when it's a small business.
yeah, so I do like art direction, but it's really a lot of illustration because we don't really we don't really work with like other illustrators. We used to when we had really, really big projects and we had a different kind of business where we had employees, but now so we'll just take on things. So I kind of direct the art, but then also I'm doing the illustration for it. And then also on like the business end, I generally do most of the taxes and the books and the sending invoices. And I do a lot of like the producing. So like talking with the client, but also Chad does that too. Like we really work together. So like there's a lot of crossover. And then he does all the video and he does the color and the audio and makes it like an animation, whereas it was just a still illustration. I'm pointing at my Cintiq here, which you can't see. No, I'm not pointing at the wall. So
No, that makes sense. Oh man, my Cintiq is having lighting issues. So I'm like, you can't really draw something and not know the color. Like it's an interesting setback. But so how do you feel like, you mentioned that you like had employees and now you don't. Why did you make that transition?
I just didn't want to be managing people and like I don't know. I don't really need to be a boss. Like we can do productions where we can scale up and have a team and then we scale right way back down. And it's way less stress because if you have a bunch of people, you have to keep them all employed, which means you have to take a lot of jobs. And it's like how many jobs? And now there's almost like a point where your business won't make money unless you have a certain amount of jobs, and then you need a certain amount of people to support that. And it's almost like this machine that like you cannot stop feeding because you're now responsible for these people's livelihoods. If you can't can them all and be like, well, we didn't have any jobs, so too bad. Like,
Yeah. Well, how did you start getting your clients when you first started out?
well, we got one. There was like a tech boom startup thing in 2013. And like, so there was like this explainer, everybody needed to explain their product. It was like an explainer video craze. They're like, I make this tech thing, and I make this tech thing and nobody understands what it is. So we needed a video. And so we did one, and then there was another company and they saw that. And it was just like a time where people saw videos like that and they wanted them. And so we just sort of, every time we did a project, we would put our absolute all into that project and make it the best, like kind of like if we had extra people, we would spend on them and make sure they like everything was the best. So we sort of scaled up and people saw our projects on Vimeo, and we were on a bunch of blogs, and we had like one client and it would lead to another. It was pretty organic. There wasn't like I don't really know how to market, like, or like, and I've found that anytime I've gone to contact people, they're not that interested. But
Yeah.
if they see us, then they're like really excited. So I don't know. There's no magic to that. It's just like people saw it and then they got in touch.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing from everybody I talk to. It's like make good work, share it, and then they'll come
Mhm.
to you. And,
Yeah.
like it's good to build a network and to reach out to people, but just know that that's a harder route. Um, oh, I think you
Oh,
froze.
oh,
Are you there? Okay. Sorry. I think what's
yeah,
happening is that my
yeah,
husband Zooms all day. And so I don't know if like since us both like we don't have like the strongest internet.
yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's happening. So I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Um, how did you figure out, the pricing? Because I think that like when people first start out, they either like undervalue themselves or overvalue themselves.
Well, we just started out by undervaluing ourselves, and and
You're like, that's
eventually,
the way to go. Be cheaper than we want.
yeah. I think it like depends on like your lifestyle and what you can afford. At the
Mm,
time we live in like the Detroit area. It's not super expensive. And now there's all these books and materials, and everybody's got a really, here's the day rate you need to make, so they have a better idea. But like we would just price it, and then we would sort of, there was just kind of an amount that you couldn't like work under. And especially when you have other people that are working for you, you're just like, okay, well, they cost X amount of dollars for this many days. Like, how much do we need to make from this? You know, um, like I'm pretty open about money. I think that it's not like a lot of times, like my best advice to people who like, because I've had people ask me like, how do you like, especially if they're pricing for like business rather than like you're working for the creative company, is just like asking people what the budget is. And generally they will tell you, like, unless it's like if they're trying to get something super cheap, you probably don't want to be working for them anyways.
yeah.
And like most people at say like an agency or something, like they don't own the agency, so they're not trying to get you, like they're not going to tell you the highest number, but they're not going to be like, here's the lowest amount that, like people will just tell you, oh, we got whatever. It just depends on the kind of project and where it's seen. um and then also, like, if you get ripped off, then you don't do it again.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You don't repeat the same thing. Man, that
Yeah,
reminds me of like I did a commission for a coworker and I told her the price. And then when I finished the product, she came back to me and was like, well, can you do it for this amount? I was like, this isn't like a garage sale where we like
yeah,
negotiate. But also it was a coworker that I had to like work with consistently and like was
yeah.
a little bit higher up than me. So I was like, okay, I guess. But
Oh,
oh my gosh, never again.
never again.
No, I'm never in that situation. That's why I'm always like a little hesitant to like make stuff for friends because it becomes an awkward situation if it's, if they think that you can charge less. Because I feel like if I commission something from a friend, I'm like, charge me the full amount. And they're like, no,
Yeah,
no, you get a discount. I'm like, no, no, don't. I know how
yeah.
this goes.
Yeah, well, and also like then you can't ask for anything. Like I won't work. I don't really even like to work with like people that I know socially, because if it goes badly for whatever reason, maybe it's not me, maybe it's like the client is crazy, you're sort of responsible for that, and
Mm.
it creates this weird thing forever. Like you never like it just kind of never goes away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
and then you're always thinking like, oh, I did this thing for this person and they were really difficult and it lasted forever. And
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that was like over 12 years ago, and I'm still talking about how I'm pissed about that one
yeah,
sculpture.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
I'm gonna project on you for a second. Uh, so when you're working with your husband, like sometimes a pickle that Jimmy and I've gotten in is like one person acting like the boss and the other person acting like the employee. And it's like, no, that's not like a long-term solution. It's caused some friction in some places.
Mhm.
It sounds like you and your husband have like a really nice equal partnership. So I guess do you have any tips in that realm?
I mean, it's not perfect. Like you have like, I think sometimes it just depends on who's taking, like we work in sort of cycles. So like when I'm if when I like we have issues, like we have arguments about things too, or like like, oh, this he has an opinion about something and I'm like, but I like this color or whatever. And you
Mm-hmm.
just sort of kind of get through it. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the work. Everybody's just overtired, or like kids got in the bed at like 3 a.m. or something, it's like,
Yeah.
but like we'll generally work in, like, let's say when we do an animation, we start off with an idea and storytelling and boards, like storyboards, and then from boards that goes into production art, so like paintings of backgrounds. And so like there might be like kind of a little, like at the beginning everybody has their own ideas of what they want to do, and that sort of shakes out like, I don't like this, I don't like this, and that's eventually we get to a set of boards that we like. And then a lot of times when I'm illustrating, like I have an idea and he trusts my idea to like kind of where I'm painting it, but also like while I'm working on it, it's easier to take in like an opinion. So I don't know if that's like, it's not really advice. It just sort of like, I find like things kind of work themselves out as you move along. And especially it helps to have a deadline, because it's just like,
Then you just
we
have
got
to
to
make
get
a
it
decision and
done.
go. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And I mean, it all comes down to good communication, whether you're working with a family member or you're working with a coworker.
Yeah.
You just don't have an HR.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You're like, I'm going to HR. So I'll assign our kitten as the HR representative, where he'll
Yeah.
just say,
Yeah.
whoever's right. And I guess, would you ever I guess don't use your kids as HR. That's traumatizing.
That would not work so well, probably. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of, I find like it really, like, it's funny because a lot of people, they worry that having kids is going to take them away from what they want to do. Like, because you just have way less time. Like, it's insane that the amount I had time, I had so much time, I had time all the time. And now I have like 6 hours, and that's what I've got. They go to school and they come home, and then somebody's got to, and by that time, like somebody might be tired, so you can't keep working or whatever. But like having that like focused time, like I need to get this done right
Mm-hmm.
now, has been like really helpful for my work. And like,
Yeah.
you just like, there's no time to do this. I have to do this right now. So
Well, it's just, yeah, I guess it forces you to focus.
yeah, it's got to get done because there's no weekend time, or there's no, we got to do this or whatever.
So it does sound like that you kind of further your education outside of your career when you're talking about like taking a business class and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's important. I personally get distracted by educating myself.
Yeah.
I'm like constantly in school and then not getting work done.
Yeah.
So I guess this is going to be a multi-layered question, which are the worst questions, but like, how do you know, like which class you want to take in that moment, and that's important for you? And how do you make sure that you don't just focus on going to school?
Well, I don't have a lot of time. So like I can kind of take on maybe one extra thing a year, like, and usually they're like 6 weeks. So it's not like a ton of time. And also like cost comes into it, because a lot of those classes are really expensive. It's like, how much one-on-one time am I going to get? The last thing I did was it was with Women in Animation, the like group online. They offer a mentorship program. And so I did that for 8 weeks or 6 weeks or something. And it was about making like a TV pitch and like selling it and practicing selling it. And I learned a lot from that. It was really interesting. But I try to take something that's a little outside of my comfort zone. Like what I really want to take is like how to illustrate like backgrounds or something, which I kind of can do without that. But like I try to take something that's just I'm not already doing, but it also has to line up. Like a lot of classes are taught by people Pacific time. Like I can't take a class at, 6 p.m. Pacific or something. Like I'm in my pajamas. I'm getting ready for bed.
Man, no different than college, going to school in your PJs.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like, there's just so many factors, like who, like, at least like, I think so. Like what I'd like to take next, there's a illustration and Blender class. Cause I have a background in 3D. So I understand the concepts and I understand kind of, and I was like, oh, this seems really interesting to me, but I don't have the time to just like learn it by myself because it's like, I just will never get done, so
Yeah.
I've been looking at, but there's only really one of those and that I like, and it's only available once a year. So it makes it really easy. So I just don't take it.
Yeah. Well, you sound like a master at time management. I mean, because it seems like your answers are always like it's about time and, getting the most for the time that you have.
Yeah, and it's just like also what's really, I don't know if I'm like an early person. Like I like if I'm going to go to your party, I'm going to be the first one there. I might be there in your driveway like
Yes,
waiting for the party to start
my
because I'm like,
people.
yeah, like, and so I'm always thinking about time, and it also
Mm.
causes me like a lot of anxiety, like if I'm stressed about time or I don't know if I have enough time. But like I won't take a class if I don't really believe that I have the time to put into it, because then it's not really valuable. Like, there's, I think schoolism.com has a lot of really great classes like that you can get for like $30, where you just watch them. But I'm not going to do the lessons. So there's no point. So
Mhm.
like I want to know somebody, I want to talk to them. And if that's not part of it, then it's no good to me.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions here before we wrap up. It sounds, I think I saw that you had opportunities to pitch shows to networks. We've gotten to do that a couple times too, and it's always an interesting experience. I think that an opportunity for us came before we were prepared and had an idea, and then you're like, okay, well, it's an opportunity. We have to scramble to get an idea.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
Well, what you just said is exactly what happened to us. um, so I did the mentorship, which was its own thing, which was really interesting. But before that, so you may know Mike Owens. So he had emailed me and he's like, "Oh, you should come to this thing in Duluth. They have a pitching thing, and we had just come back. We went to Cannes. We like had a short film that was like screened in this thing, and
Yeah.
and so we came back, and I was really excited to do something, and it was 2019. So I had like we were slow in the summer. So generally we have time in the summer. So I had like a month to think about or something. And he's like, you should do a pitch. And I had a drawing and I was like, okay. So I just kind of made up a pitch. And then the Ottawa International Animation Festival, they had a call for pitches. And so because I already had this thing that I just made up, like I looked at other people's pitch Bibles and I just like put it together, but there was no real story. Like it was just like I just kind of pieced it together with like something I made up. And they liked it and they're like, yeah, come and pitch on stage. We picked 10 contestants. And so we had to like come up with a pitch for this thing. And we thought of it like it was on stage. So we thought of it as a performance. And so we wore spacesuits, and Chad did the video and he did some of the voices. And so we would talk to our robot. It was like I'm really interested in space. And so this girl's a space girl, and she has this like, she's in this ship, and the ship is like, it talks to her, but he's like always getting things totally wrong. And so like the ship was like a character in our pitch. And I still think it was a really great pitch. And the judges just hated it. They were just like they wanted to know, like, are these 30-minute episodes? Are these like, they wanted to know real specifics, which I understand, but they missed the whole point. Like, and I felt at the end of it, like everybody who pitched, like all of our peers, came up and said, oh, we should have done that. That was amazing. We really loved that. It was so funny. And the judges were just like, but you don't have the 10 things on the list. And I just feel like those weren't my people. And like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
In
my
my head, I'm
people,
like, who gives a shit if you don't have the
that's
10 things on the
who
list?
cares if you don't know like these specifics, but you
Yeah.
have like an idea, like we can develop the rest of it. What do you want?
Mhm.
8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you want. It can be put in that. I'm not writing the pieces. And so like all I figured was like, well, these people, like they're looking for Paw Patrol. And I'm never going to make Paw Patrol, like they're looking for
Mhm.
something that can be episodic, that they can make into toys, and they can make $1 bazillion. And I'm never going to make that. And I understand from business point of view, like they can't make like my space girl idea, which is like about like space and like cool kids and doing funny things. Like they're not going to be interested in that because it doesn't make any money. So, I could see their point, but I also feel like I went there, like we went there and we did what we wanted to do. And like I look at that and think that it was great. And so, too bad.
Yeah, I'm that's hilarious because it's just such a industry person meeting a creative and not seeing past that. Like I think you always need to have someone who's like genuinely a creative on a development team, not
Yeah.
just somebody who's a budget person, because then they
Yeah.
can really pick those gems.
Yeah. And if like, I don't want to be working with somebody who needs me to make something that's like super, like, can be packaged in like if that's what they need, then that's not what I'm going to be able to make for them. And like if that is never a possibility, like if that's not what you make for TV, then I guess I'm not going to make a show,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I want to. It's a long project. It seems kind of hard.
So kind of final question for you. Since you've been in the industry since 2005 and it's changed so much with kind of the gig economy, presenting itself. Everybody can like learn how to be an animator from like
Mhm.
YouTube. Um, where do you fall? And I think this is like a perfect follow-up to the animated show with like a traditional network. Where do you fall in people either going rogue and making their own path and like trying to just be like, I'm going to reach an audience through my Patreon or through YouTube, versus like I'm going to work with a major corporation. It might
Mhm.
be the harder route, but they're going to pay a lot more and handle
Yeah.
all the whole experience.
Well, I think that like, I mean, I'm a person that believes that you should always bet on yourself. Like I can't a corporation is never going to care about you, like they're never going to care about you personally. That's not what they're there for. They're there to make money. And I understand that because you have to make money or else you're not a business, you're a whatever. And also I understand the other part. If you're like on Patreon and you have people and they're giving you $60 to work for the whole month, like that's not going to work. I've always been in both. Like if you're not making your own work, like we just finished a short film. We haven't released it yet. And I'm really excited about it. And I feel like every year we really try to like put out something that is ours, you
Mm.
know, and and maybe people will like it, maybe they won't, but at least I'm getting better and I'm making things that I believe in. And during that time, I'm also making KFC or whatever, so that I can pay the bills. So it's sort of like I do a little bit of both, but I think you can get that like job at Disney and that can be your thing and you can be
Mhm.
amazing, but if you're not making anything for you, like no one's ever going to be really excited about you. They might like follow your Twitter because they want to learn how to get a job where you want to get a job, but they're
Yes,
not,
exactly.
like that's yeah, like they want something from you. Like we post to like our Instagram and like if we post something that's like if I make the most amazing painting, it's like incredible. I don't know. It's something amazing that's like really beautiful. It'll get like nothing, like crickets. But if we post like, here's how we made this piece of garbage that we can sell for a lot of money, it'll just blow up. And so it really tells you that people, which is fine, people are looking at it for their own purposes so they can learn, so they can go use your thing to make way more money than you do, which is what usually happens. And but at least I have those things that I'm really proud of. And I really do believe that that will lead me to wherever I'm meant to go, like wherever, as long as I'm making things, I'll eventually get to where I'm going, as opposed to like if I'm only doing other people's work and only using other people's ideas, I can only go to that corporation or other places like it. And then it's always in everybody else's hands. You're like, oh, I can't go make this because then I have to pitch it to 500 people. I have to, like nobody will ever let me make my thing. And it's like, well, how can I make my thing my way? Maybe it takes way longer and I have to save up all the money and whatever, but at least it'll be mine as opposed to like, somebody else's. thing that I'm sort of proud of, but it's not mine, not my idea.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make
It's
sense?
no,
Sometimes I'd
totally.
rather.
I mean, because it reminds me of the directors where like you don't know that like these big name directors or big-ish, like the ones like bottom one tier down from like the Steven Spielberg type level
Yeah,
people, going and making commercials in Japan
yeah,
while they try and get funding for their dream project where they're an auteur. Like they
yeah,
can't just be an
exactly.
auteur the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. And you see it. You'll see like the people they'll make like arty film and then arty film. And these films are really great and have great stories and great characters. And then they make a Marvel film. And it's
Yeah.
like everybody needs to pay for their house sometimes. And then you make enough of those. And then you're just like, okay, now I can make what I want to make again. It's like we're always trying to make, like we're trying to get that feeling of the first thing that we made that wasn't that good. And I think
Right.
because that's when it was fun, when you're working with your friends and you're just making something. But I don't know. I think that's sort of the chase. You have to pay for the house, but then you also like don't want to lose yourself. Like what makes you able to do the things that you do.
That's the ultimate balance. And sometimes that puts you in therapy.
Well,
And
you know
you're
what?
like,
You
where's
need help. You
me?
need help sorting it all out. There's a lot going on.
No, totally. I mean, it reminds me of like Jennifer Coolidge's Golden Globe speech where she was like, give me American Pie 7. I don't care. Just, put me to work.
Yeah.
And that's somebody who just won a massive award and is
Yeah.
just like, no, I want to work.
Yeah. You just want to work. And sometimes, I mean, it's nice to work on other people's things where you can kind of come in, you do your thing, you leave. Now
Yep.
you can do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for this like lovely conversation. When I saw your about page and it was just not a standard picture of you like leaning on a tree or anything or like at your like art
Here's
but it was
me.
like yeah, it was you dancing. I was like, we're gonna have the best conversation. You're gonna bring the energy and the fun. But I mean, because I didn't know like the business side of you, but like you have like the perfect mix of like artistic and business knowledge. I really
Oh,
admire that.
well, that's super nice. Thank you so much for having me. And I would say about that is like I just have always felt like I never like with business, I was like, I don't belong here. That's how I felt. I'd be at meetings, I'd be like, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here. This is for people and with shoulder pads. And then I took this like really fancy business class and I learned that like no, I actually it's just like a cheesy movie, but it's like no, I actually do know what I'm doing and it's not rocket science. It's just like people and who you want to work with and whatever. But
Yeah, I saw that you like rom-coms, so I
oh
can
my
just
gosh.
imagine you like taking on your own business and like the guy across the street is trying to take you down, but then you
Yeah.
fall in love.
Oh, exactly. Either that or I'll watch like my favorite movies are like Mel Brooks. So like
No,
I
no,
I
he's an evil man now. No, not Mel
yeah.
Brooks. Sorry, I'm thinking Mel Gibson. No,
Oh
never
no, no,
mind.
no, that's not the same. Not the same.
My
I'm
brain
thinking
was
like Men
Mel
in Tights,
Gibson.
and you're like,
Yes, no, Men in Tights is a classic. Oh my gosh, that would be so awkward if you did pick like a horrible person and I had to sit here and be like, oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
Mel Gibson, he just like hates like I think he hates a lot of people. I don't pay attention to Mel Gibson. He has a this
Yes.
rating.
No, no, he's not somebody who can make a comeback at this point. Okay, I'm so happy that we're ending on laughing and stuff. One last thing, where can people find you on social?
You can find me at Michelle Can Draw on Twitter and Instagram, and my website is heymichelle.me because I
Oh,
thought it sounded friendly. And hopefully in the next, we're thinking like for Valentine's Day, we have this like very strange, fully animated short film that we're gonna put out called Self Love. So, if you're on there, I hope like write me and say hi and take a look at it because we put in so much work.
oh my gosh, I can't. I'm excited for that. I'm gonna write that down because I want to make sure that I share it. And I think that's the perfect theme for Valentine's Day because I don't know. I mean, I love the idea of Galentines. I did that in high school, like hanging out with my friends, but it's a fresh take on Valentine's Day that I feel like is not commercialized yet. You know, a self-love take.
Yeah, this one is sort of about like it's got a frog, it's got a guy, it's a little strange, but it's in space. So and it's really
You're
fun.
like, as I
It's
do.
about like just, seeing yourself in other people and just loving that, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll be sure to share. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really fun. We can talk anytime.
Yay.